I used to think being a daughter-in-law was a long journey, and though not easy, with enough patience, I would be understood. But I was wrong. This year, my mother-in-law's 65th birthday was held at an old-fashioned, expensive, luxurious French restaurant in the heart of the city. The decor was beautiful, like something out of a movie, but to me, it felt unusually cold. About 30 of my husband's relatives, both paternal and maternal, showed up, including some I had never met. The party wasn't a birthday celebration, it was a performance. A ceremony to affirm that my in-laws' family was still successful, still bonded, still prosperous, thanks to the silent sacrifice of someone like me. I'm the younger daughter-in-law, no children, working in finance with a good income. Because my husband Daniel is a private person who always yields, everything from dealing with relatives to buying gifts and making unexpected payments for his family fell to me. I used to see it as responsibility. Later, I understood it was organized exploitation. That evening, I didn't bring my wallet. Not because I forgot, but intentionally. After many years of silence, I wanted to know, what would happen if I wasn't the last one to pay the bill? The party unfolded, as expected. My sister-in-law, Sarah, called the waiter to bring out the most expensive dishes. My brother-in-law, Alex, posed for photos as if he were at a red carpet event. My mother-in-law, Martha, smiled just enough, speaking like a queen. No one asked if I was tired. No one noticed what I was carrying besides my small bag. Towards the end of the evening, after the chocolate mousse, my father-in-law, George, stood up, raised his wine glass and said, "To my wife, who has always been by my side for 40 years, who gave birth to smart, thoughtful, loyal children who never let their parents want for anything." At that moment, his gaze swept past me, as if I were an empty chair. No one mentioned me. No thanks for the daughter-in-law who quietly paid her hospital bills last month or covered his life insurance premium. Sarah raised her glass with a faint smile. Our family is truly blessed to have such wonderful children who are considerate and caring. Then their eyes met mine, a look that was both invisible and chilling. I sat there, observing coldly, for the first time not bowing my head, not trying to force a smile, not rushing to change the subject. I stood up, calmly took a glass of water, clinked it against a wine glass hovering in the middle of the table, and said, "If that's the case, then today is for the in-laws, not for me. The best gift is for everyone to show their caring as promised. I'll take my leave. Oh, waiter, please charge the bill too. The family's card." I turned around and slowly walked out of the restaurant amidst whispers, confused glances, and a bit of relief. Daniel followed me, not saying a word. But as the restaurant's glass door closed behind us, he said one thing that almost made me cry. "Thank you. I should have said this a long time ago." We hadn't even taken off our shoes when the phone started ringing incessantly. The screen showed a flurry of missed calls. Sarah, Alex, Martha, even Aunt Carol, who just last night called me the gentlest daughter-in-law. Messages started pouring in. "What do you mean by leaving like that? Mom is crying. What do you mean by causing a scene at her birthday? Do you think playing that trick makes you smart?" No one asked if I was okay. No one mentioned how the whole family had treated me like a stranger in front of dozens of people. All they cared about was their humiliation. I put the phone down. Daniel poured me a glass of water and gently said, "If you want, I'll call each of them and tell them to stop." I shook my head. "No need. I want to see how far they'll go if I don't speak up. I want to see their true faces, without makeup, without excuses." He didn't ask anything further. He just sat beside me, silently like a solid shield, exactly when I needed it most. The next morning, I woke up and opened my bank account. It was a habit, a reflex, to ensure the rent transfer for Alex had been deducted on time. But this time, I didn't do it. I canceled the transfer. No message, no warning, no explanation. She had once cried profusely on a rainy night because she was being evicted, and from that day on, I paid steadily for 15 months. But not once was there a thank you. Every act of help became an unspoken obligation, a tax no one stipulated, but which my in-laws' family implicitly expected me to bear. I also canceled the life insurance support for Martha and George. I stopped paying for the car Daniel co-signed for Sarah. I printed a list of all expenses incurred over the past 2 years, not to demand repayment, but to see how much I had lost money, time, and self-respect. That evening, Alex called. I didn't answer. She texted, "Did you forget to transfer the money this month? I'm about to be evicted." Another message came shortly after from Martha. "Are you trying to drive the whole family into a corner? You know everyone relies on you." I didn't reply, and I didn't feel guilty. A week later, Aunt Carol, who usually remained neutral, called me. But instead of reproaching me, she just said, "I heard you and Daniel are distancing yourselves from the family. What's going on? Why didn't you say anything to me?" I hesitated for a few seconds. Then I decided to send her a summary of the support I had provided over the past 2 years, along with a simple line. "Aunt Carol, do you think if I were their own child, they would treat me this way?" The message was read but not replied to. I already knew the answer. We rearranged our home, removing all traces of daughter-in-law duties, unopened wedding gift boxes, souvenirs from shared trips pushed into storage. We replaced the curtains, changed the Wi-Fi password, and for the first time since we got married, I felt this house was truly mine. That evening, Daniel and I sat together, his hand gently squeezing my shoulder. "I'm sorry for letting you endure for so long without realizing it." I just smiled. No more apologies needed. No more justifications. We were standing on each other's side. And that was enough. On the third evening after the birthday, as I was cooking dinner, the doorbell rang continuously. I walked out and looked at the camera screen by the gate. It was Martha, Sarah, and George. Standing upright, no smiles, no greetings. Their eyes stared into the lens as if I owed them an explanation. Before I could decide whether to open the door, the automatic gate creaked open, perhaps by a late returning neighbor. Less than a minute later, the three of them were standing right at the front door. Daniel stepped out in front of me. He spoke softly, but firmly enough. "You should have called first. Call for what?" "So she won't answer again?" Martha replied, her voice sharp like a spoon clinking against a bowl. Without waiting to be invited, they walked in. Sarah sat down on the sofa, arms crossed, staring directly at me. "How long are you going to play this silent game? Do you know how many people are talking about you?" I didn't answer. I stood there, calm, waiting for them to shed the rest of their act. "I don't understand you. All these years, you've put up with everything. Did anyone ever force you? And just because of one joke that day, you turn your back on the whole family?" "A joke?" I repeated, a faint smile on my face. That joke was when everyone sat there applauding, making me disappear from the party. Good heavens, who would have thought you'd take it so to heart? If a daughter-in-law isn't a little resilient, how can she survive? "It's like that in every family," Martha interjected. "Did you ever ask me what I wanted? Or did you only care if I paid on time?" No one replied. Sarah looked at Daniel, hoping he would pull me back into my role. But he simply replied, "Enough. We didn't come here to teach my wife how to behave. So what exactly do you two mean?" "Are you cutting ties?" George asked, speaking for the first time. I took a breath, then replied, "Not cutting ties, but giving back. Giving back the role of the dutiful daughter-in-law, giving back the financial responsibility that no one ever named, giving back the position of supporter that was never appreciated. I never wanted you to suffer," Martha said loudly, her voice starting to falter. "But you are well off. What's wrong with doing a little for the family? Doing it out of love is one thing. Doing it because it's implicitly an obligation is another. And the most painful thing isn't the money, it's the contempt." The room fell silent. They had no more words to throw at me. Because, for the first time, I didn't bow my head, didn't back down, didn't stay silent. "You all don't need to worry anymore," I said. "From now on, everyone lives their own life. I'm not asking anyone to understand. I just ask to be left in peace." Daniel placed his hand on my shoulder, as if putting an end to the conversation. "Mom and Dad, please leave. Next time you want to visit, please call first, and come with respect, not demands." They left in silence. But their eyes clearly said one thing. They never thought I would go this far. When the door closed, I didn't feel pain. I felt light. For the first time, after so many years, I felt like I was no longer an accessory to my in-laws' family. I was a human being, with the right to refuse, with the right to keep myself. 3 days after the confrontation, there were no more doorbells. But messages still came, this time, not from my in-laws, but from distant relatives, friends, and even close colleagues. Hey, I heard you had a fight with your in-laws? Heard your sister-in-law cried all night? Is that true? What's wrong with you? Why did you leave in the middle of your mother-in-law's birthday party? Clearly, the story was being retold, but not from my side. In their version, I was the overreacting, unreasonably angry, and mentally collapsed person due to the pressure of not having children. They said I was depressed, and that's why I acted that way. They said Daniel was controlled by me, they said. I had ruined family harmony just because of a joke. I remained silent, but this time, not to endure, but to prepare. I opened my laptop, filtered all emails and messages containing transfer details, payment proofs, and screenshots of conversations from the past 2 years. 15 months of rent paid for Alex. Over $2,500 for Martha's health insurance last year. Plane tickets for the whole family's international trips. Gifts for mom and dad. But I was the only one who paid. Sarah's car repair bill sent through Daniel. I'm going through a tough time, you understand, right? I didn't write harsh words. I just listed the facts, concisely and clearly. Finally, I ended the letter with a paragraph. I am not sharing this to demand anything back. I am writing it so no one will think I left just because of a party. I left because an entire system had grown accustomed to seeing me as a vending machine, not a human being with limits. I don't need anyone to choose sides. I just don't want to continue being silent while the truth is distorted. I sent that letter to exactly 7 people. 2 aunts on my husband's side, 1 uncle on my side, 3 close relatives who had previously inquired about me, and finally, Carla, a distant cousin, who often messaged me to share insights whenever there was a family gathering. Carla was the first to respond. I always felt you were treated differently. Now I understand why. I stand with you. Another aunt called directly, her voice calm and soft. I'm sorry I didn't notice before. I just thought you could handle it, so I didn't say anything. These responses weren't many, not loud, but enough for me to know. This time, I wasn't alone. A few days later, I received a message from Martha. Just one line. You are truly cruel. This family loved you so much. I didn't reply. I didn't need to defend myself to someone who only knew how to love through control. That day, I canceled 2 services they were still using under my name, Sarah's supplementary credit card and the insurance plan I had quietly maintained for Martha. I sent an email announcing the cancellation, without providing a reason, without resentment. There was no need to say I'm not doing it anymore, because I had already done more than enough. I used to think that when I withdrew, everything would collapse, that they would realize my value, that a part of them would regret it. But no, quite the opposite. Just a week after I cut contact, Carla, my cousin, sent a message with a few screenshots. Sarah's Instagram posted pictures. The whole family vacationing in Miami. Cocktails in hand, radiant smiles, caption, family is everything. Number, we are still. Together, number, stronger after the storm. Martha posted pictures of a meal at a 5-star resort restaurant with the caption, knowing how to let go of negativity is the way to live lighter. Number, self-sufficiency. Number, understanding. In the comments section were countless praises from friends and relatives. You all are always so strong. You're truly an inspiring mother. Your family is truly a role model. And me? I stared at the screen and didn't know whether to be sad or laugh. I used to quietly pay for their trips, buy plane tickets, book hotel rooms. But this time, with me no longer behind the scenes, they were still doing well, better than ever. I began to understand a bitter truth. They were never in need. They were just lazy to pay for themselves. I was just the most convenient solution, and when that solution disappeared, they simply moved on to another option. That evening, I sat on the balcony, looking at the city lights. Daniel brought out 2 hot cups of tea, placed one in front of me, and gently asked, "Are you okay?" I nodded. But it took a few minutes before I had the courage to tell the truth. I don't know whether to feel relieved or hurt. They don't need me. Daniel didn't answer immediately. He sat beside me, then slowly said, "There's a harsh truth. You weren't needed from the beginning. They only needed what you could provide. But that's not your fault." I turned to look at him, and for the first time, I didn't cry. I just nodded. The next day, Carla sent a few more messages. Sarah had started contacting relatives, explaining that I was having a mental crisis, that she collapsed after the child issue, which is why she's doing these weird things. In a message sent to Aunt Kathy, which she forwarded to me, Sarah wrote, "I'm not angry at her. I just feel sorry that she doesn't realize she's destroying the family. We just want to help her heal." Heal? They thought they were the saviors and I was the lost patient? I didn't write any more justifications. I just sent back one sentence, to those who had inquired. I'm not angry with them. I just no longer accept living a life without respect. I also didn't look for more reasons to defend them or to excuse my leaving, because I left to live, not to prove a point. About 2 months after the party, everything in my life changed, not dramatically, not tragically, but profoundly, as if someone had shifted the axis of the entire world I once knew. No more sudden calls from Martha asking for a favor. No more messages from Sarah asking to borrow money just this month. No more family gatherings where I was excluded from every conversation, only to be the one to pull out my wallet at the end. Instead, there were mornings where I woke up early, made coffee, and read books in the sunlight on the balcony. Evenings where Daniel and I cooked together, laughing at trivial stories. Weekends where we left the city, went to the mountains, the beach, or simply walked aimlessly, without worrying about do we have to go to the in-laws for this holiday. One afternoon, I was wandering through a weekend market when I came across a stall selling handmade notebooks. The middle-aged woman behind the counter looked at me and smiled. "You seem like someone who used to carry a lot, but now you're light." I froze. Not because of the words, but because of the feeling for the first time. Someone saw me not by my role, but by my true self. I bought a notebook. That evening, I opened the first page and wrote, "I will not apologize for shedding the version that made me small to fit the expectations of others." Carla, the only cousin who still kept in touch with me, said my in-laws' family was still performing, but their expressions were different. The photos became fewer, the captions more disjointed. "They're tired," Carla said. "Not because of you, but because there's no one left to carry the burden." I felt neither happy nor sad, just serene, like someone had just turned off a machine that had been noisy for years in a small house. Then one day, I received an unsealed note, silently placed in my mailbox. Martha's familiar handwriting. "No matter what you think, the family still loves you." I read the line over and over, then folded it and dropped it into the trash can near the door. If love is a noose, I'd rather not have it. Daniel and I began to redraw new boundaries. He still stood by me, not as someone caught between his family and his wife, but as someone who chose what was right. We traveled, started planning to adopt a small dog, and Daniel even suggested, "How about we move somewhere else, start truly fresh?" I nodded. Without hesitation, in our new apartment, I taped a handwritten note to the refrigerator, a reminder to myself. Love is not sacrificing until you're depleted. Love is not apologizing for choosing yourself. Now, I am not the model daughter-in-law, no longer the one with money who has to help the whole family, no longer the silent shadow bearing the burdens. I am me, a woman who learned to love herself after spending her youth trying to please others. And if that makes someone see me as a betrayer, a selfish person, or a villain in their story, then so be it. I'd rather be the villain in their script than a supporting character in my own life.